Okay. So, because this is so hard to explain, and because the mind has a tendency to hear information and then automatically assume that it's talking about something, some objective quality, some objective concept or context or reality that is tangible to it and can be got, can be described, can be captured with thinking and language. Whereas what the words are pointing to is so simple, so before all that. So obvious in a sense that any information that words and language and thought can provide almost takes us away from ourselves, takes us away from this point, this recognition. It's like the awareness that is aware, the knowingness that knows these concepts and seems to be following, or not following, seems to comprehend in some way, seems to know this path, this journey, these ideas. That very awareness is what the concepts are pointing to, and that awareness is inclusive of all concepts, is that which knows all thoughts and language, that which looks for, that awareness that is looking for itself. But it can't find itself because it is looking from itself, and it is itself, and that's what you are. So when we go on this spiritual journey, when we're looking for something, that which is aware of that which knows that journey, that which comprehends and understands that language, all of it is what the journey is about, is what is being looked for. But it's not a thing, it's more of a happeningness, a knowingness. It's not solid, it is the fabric of reality. It's that which allows the journey in the first place. In a sense, you almost have to turn backwards. But to say to see it isn't correct, because you can only look from it. You are it. You can't directly look at yourself, because yourself isn't a thing in time and space. It's everything. So I thought I would re-describe. I have limited time, by the way. I thought I would re-describe how this recognition came about for me, because there is a lot of delusion in my earlier videos that might not be apparent immediately from watching one or a couple, but it plays out over time. The mind co-opts the thing, and then it goes through cycles of delusion, and that might be quite misleading for people who are maybe watching the earlier videos and following it through. And in many ways I'm describing the same thing. But there's one big mistake in this whole channel, and that big mistake is trying to describe something that's so fucking obvious. So many words to try and point to something which actually can't be pointed to, that can only just be simply recognised. So it began with, I might have to do this video in 2 parts. It began with the calling, let's say. It began with that sense of something's not right. There's some dissatisfaction here. Why don't I know myself? Why are there so many question marks here? And I could feel something pulling me into it, and that was the presence, this mystery of this immediate reality. It was so mysterious and so intriguing. And all the spiritual teachings that I had heard before pointing directly to this. And there were times where the mind calmed down to the extent where this immense presence became much more pronounced in immediate experience, to the point where the content of the mind's narrative, that narrative self that lives in time and space, thinned to the extent where it wasn't that captivating. What was more interesting was just this immediate presence, and that feeling, by contrast to the worries and problems of the self, was blissful. It was an experience of satisfaction and intrigue and mystery, and that just captured my entire life's focus, let's say. And there was striving there, but what made it, and there was a quest for knowledge, there was the need to understand, which, you know, I mean, it never really fully goes away. I mean, the mind likes to understand things, but when applied to this, eventually it's seen that that's not relevant at all. But it takes a while for that realisation to sink in. But the peace and the solid self-confirming reality of presence became something I did as a hobby, and because of that, it wasn't like I was trying to build a practice. It was like I was enjoying reality, like I was enjoying presence, like I was just doing it for the simple enjoyment of doing it rather than to pursue a goal. And anyone who's had a pastime or a hobby or whatever, or a skill that they've really enjoyed and being good at, they will know that that's where you end up. You don't pursue a goal over time, because it kind of takes the joy out of it in a sense. You immerse yourself in it fully for the sake of the thing itself, for the sake of the enjoyment of doing it. And gradually, because of that, because there wasn't any overt seeking or overt goal there, that presence, that silence, that aliveness became louder and louder and louder, became more primary, more in the forefront of experience. And it was just something I wanted to do all the time. Nothing else really interested me. And at some point there was a recognition there, and I don't know if I did put it into words this way in the beginning, but it was the immense remembering that I wasn't a person doing a meditation or a practice. That the person in that moment wasn't relevant anymore. And what emerged was myself as this presence, as that which is aware, as this present awareness, consciousness. There are so many names for this. Well, then there was a solid realization that is what I am, that is me, but not in the sense of identity, because identity doesn't really apply here. But the identity of the person was replaced with a knowingness that was much more primary. A knowing that this awareness is essentially what this is, what I am, at a fundamental and undoubtable level. But the doubt continued in the mind. But what was broken was the illusion that there was a thing here, separate from that all these thoughts in this story referred to. Because it was seen clearly that is not there. It doesn't exist, it can't be found. When you see it's just another thought, or it's a collection of thoughts referring to a thought imagination. It's an imagined entity that can never be found in experience because it just doesn't exist. But it only seems to exist when it's not paid attention to. Not a great way of describing it, but when it's not looked at closely, it continues to assume itself to be in existence, this separate entity. And when you look for it, you never find it. It doesn't exist. And it will try to reassert its existence through thoughts. The thoughts will change. They changed for me and started throwing doubts in there. But at a certain point it just became obvious that was all secondary. All of it's secondary, all of it comes after the immediate present awareness of aliveness that I am, that you are. And those thoughts, the illusion, the doubt, still ran through habit, through this repetitive pattern. But then when you see that's just a repetitive pattern, when you see it playing out without a conscious agent that's making these thoughts, that these thoughts belong to, the person doesn't make sense anymore. The person is just a pattern of thoughts based on responses to whatever seems to be going on. That massive relief, but also at the same time terror, that as I took myself to be, doesn't actually exist other than an imagined story. And once that clarified, once the belief in the thoughts was broken, suddenly I wasn't fighting the mind. The mind didn't have to be quiet. I wasn't trying to force the mind to be quiet. I wasn't making an enemy of thoughts in the mind, and because of that, the mind was able to shut up for a while. Resisting it makes more thoughts, it seems. Because again, it comes through the back door. This self, this imaginary entity that's trying to control things, is then trying to control its own thoughts. Once it's seen that is the imaginary self, it's a tactic that it just tries to pop back up again, and it continues to do that. But that fundamental breaking of the illusion finally allows the mind to be quiet, or just the thoughts to do what they want, because thoughts are just coming. There's no one in control of them. There's no one they refer to. Thoughts are just thoughts. That which is aware of the thoughts never changes. That which is aware of experience never changes. everything changes constantly, but that which is aware, that awareness, that presence, in which all of that seeming space in which all of this appears, all of this is allowed because of the awareness that lets it exist. That never changes, and that is what we are fundamentally. It's obvious. It's so obvious. The only thing that obscures it is the story, this identification. And at the heart of all those thoughts is this imagined entity that doesn't actually exist. So it's easy for the mind to hear this, and then for the imagined self to then use that to try and delete itself. And that effort is seeking. That effort is an effort of this illusion, seeing it, almost making an object of it, making an object in, let's say, for example, the infinite subject of awareness. Means it's not real. By process of elimination, these objects are one by one exposed to be illusions, ever-changing, uncertain illusions that appear within the solid certainty of awareness, the solid certainty of existence, consciousness, presence. And over time that becomes more certain, and the thoughts and the illusion of the imagined self become more and more crumbly and fake. So I've run out of time now, but the point is it can be easy to get carried away with trying to find something, whereas the thing that you're looking for isn't a thing and you're looking from it. You are it anyway. Yeah, awakeness or oneness, pretending to be a separate entity, pretending to be an individual in time. Anyway, that's all. Talk to you next time.